Hello, everyone. This is Shawn Stewart of 586 Sports, Detroit Survival Pool Authority. It is October 16th, 2023. We have a wonderful show for you and a couple of great announcements. All right. So let me get this out the way real quick as I am about to send this a retweet. Now, it was supposed to be week 7 and week 8 of the on the on these on the title. So on YouTube is a different title. So the correction is supposed to be week 7 of the NFL and week 8 of the NCAA. And if you are watching this platform, make sure you like our page on X. We are also, and we, as a matter of fact, if you go on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, we actually have our survivor picks for NFL and NCAA winner and loser picks, survivor picks, if you guys play on Splash Sports. We are also available on audio only on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Now, before we get into the recap, I just want to make a couple announcements. So next week, I'm going to have a guest, and his name is Jason Anik of Last Man Standing, as him and I will be doing NFL Survivor Pool picks for next week's show, by the way. Also, Splash Sports is launching a new game called NBA Point Survivor. So in that game, you just got to pick a player who scores 20 points or more. So it's like Survivor, kind of like just like I do the NFL touchdown survivor and an NHL point survivor. But the difference is with this NBA contest, you just got to pick a player that scores 20 points or more. So no rebounds, no assists, no nothing. It's just as long as that player scores 20 points, you advance to the next round. Also, Bull Rush, our good friends at Bull Rush, is doing a NFL satellite survivor contest. So here's how it works. So each week, every player starts with a fantasy $100,000 bankroll. So you place your picks on NFL matchup using real odds. So the goal is to finish the week with a higher return than at least 20% of the field. Top 80% of performers move on to the next round. Bankroll resets each week, so one bad bet doesn't hurt. So the last player standing in week 20 will split the cash as well. So new Bull Rush customers can use my promo code 586 Sports to get $5 off when entering a contest on Bull Rush. So it is important to apply this promo code when adding credits to your account. So for example, if the contest was $20 or 20 credits, and when you put in that promo code, it will be $15. So that's how it works. So there you have it. Okay. So now that I got that out the way, so right now it is 6:35, and if you have any questions that you want to ask about your survivor pool, feel free to ask. So last week it wasn't too many upsets. It was kind of like it wasn't like week 5, where week 5 you had the Rams loss. That was a big one. And then who else lost? You had the Rams loss. I'm trying to think. You had the Rams loss. It'll pop up in my head. The Cardinals. You had the Cardinals loss. It was the Rams and the Cardinals loss. You had the Cardinals loss as well. And then you also had Buffalo loss. So as I am looking for last week, trying to get the right one. Oh, that's the right one. Trying to get the right one. Because I think I had that with me. This is week 7. Looking for week 8. Not week 8. That's week 7. I know I had it with me. Look on. You know what? As a matter of fact, let me do this real quick. I know I had it in my hand. Cause matter of fact, let's do this. Let's do this. Cause I know I just had it in my hand. Cause I got the notes for the Let me see real quick. Let me see real quick. Let me see real quick. Because I know last time we actually had the. Or as a matter of fact, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. I think I deleted it. Because I know last time I had it in my hands just not too long ago. Not too doggone long ago. So let's do this. Let's do the NFL. Let's do the NFC. Okay, I got the. I'm looking for the. Oh, here it is. I'm looking for week 6. All right. We pull that up. AFC. I'm looking for AFC. I don't even think I even see it. Oh, here it is. Okay, here it is. So let me pull that up. All right, let's see. All right, there we go. So we're going to pull that up right now. All right, so we're going to pull that up. We're going to share that screen, as a matter of fact. So if you're on audio, you won't be able to see this, but if you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble, you'll be able to see it. All right, so as you are looking right now, this is the NFC. This is the NFC, all right? This is the NFC. So, all right, so here's the NFC. So, before week 6, according to Splash Sports, they gave Chicago a 30% chance of winning that game. Of course, Chicago went into Washington on Monday night to win that game. Now, I knew Detroit was not going to win that game against Kansas City because Kansas City lost to Jacksonville in week 5. Even though a lot of people picked Cincinnati to win that game, it was a 92% chance that they did. As a matter of fact, before the game, Washington had a 69% chance of beating Chicago. Unfortunately, that did not happen. And the same thing with the Philadelphia Eagles losing to the New York Giants on Thursday Night Football. Now, when the Cowboys lost, they had a 59% chance, and I felt like that game was trapped. So glad I actually got that. Let me screen that. Let me do that. Excuse me. So we actually got that right. So Dallas had a 59% chance. I call it trap. Then the Tampa Bay San Francisco game, that game could have been going one way or the other. That was a trap. Even though that game was at home, so I did say that was a trap. Did had the Rams beating Baltimore. That was a 75% chance. We actually got that. Seattle beat Jacksonville because it was a half and half. So I didn't pick that game. Thank goodness, because there are certain contests I don't have Seattle in my survival pool, but there's others where I do have Seattle. So there you have it. So we got, let's see. So we got one pick right in the NFC. So now let's do the AFC. Let's do the AFC. All right. We're going to share that screen. Okay. It's loading up, so. All right. All right. There we go. All right, let me cancel it. All right, there we go. So if you're getting a packages on our survival pool, this is what it'll look like. So let me share that on screen. All right, there we go. So Pittsburgh had a 73% chance of beating Cleveland, so we got that right. Buffalo lost to Atlanta. Buffalo had a 65% chance of beating the Falcons. Unfortunately, the Bills lost that game. Actually gave New England beating the New Orleans Saints 62%. So right now, the New England Patriots are on their winning streak. Then we also gave the Indianapolis Colts a 76.70% chance of beating the Arizona Cardinals. That did happen. Then also the Broncos beating the Jets. They had like a 75-90%, almost 76%. Then the Raiders beat the Titans. That wasn't even nowhere near close, as the Raiders had a 69% chance. And then the Chargers, that was a close one. Chargers had a 60.90% chance of beating the Dolphins, so they won that game as well. So those are your recaps for the NFL for week number 6. So that was the recap for week number 6. All right. So now that we got that out the way, now we can talk some previews of a couple of teams in the NFL. I do have my grid sheet for week 7. All right. So, because there's a lot of scenarios. Okay, there we go. So there's a lot of scenarios. So we're now going to be talking about the week 7 NFL survival pool. So right now, the Chiefs are favored by 12 points against the Raiders because the game is in Arrowhead and Rashee Rice has returned. Now, if you pick the Chiefs, so you're giving away when they play Thanksgiving and Christmas along with week 16 against the Titans. I want to say week 16 against the Titans. I want to say that. I want to be correct on that. And the answer is, I want to say yes, it is Titans. That's a road game. That's a road game. So week 16, it's a road game at Tennessee. Now, there's a couple of ways you can use New England because if you have not heard, Tennessee has fired their head coach. So right now, this probably be the right time to use the New England Patriots. So if you don't want to use the New England Patriots against the Titans because that is Patriots road game, so you can look at week 8 versus Cleveland, week 11 versus the Jets, and then week 18 versus Miami. So those are the three weeks you can actually use New England if you don't want to use any of those weeks I just gave you. So once again, week 8 next week against Cleveland, that's a home game. So all 3 of those games is at home. Week 8 versus Cleveland, week 11 versus the Jets, and week 18 versus Miami. So I got all this information from Pool Genius. Now let's look at Chicago. As I did say earlier, they did beat the Washington Commanders on Monday night. Now the Bears are favored by 5 against the Saints. So this is right now the best week to use them right now. So if you don't want to use the Bears, you can use them in week 9 against Cincinnati. That's a road game. Week 10 versus the Giants, and week 15 versus the Cleveland Browns. Now, I thought I saw a couple of questionable people. I saw Chris Olave was injured. Alvin Kamara is questionable. Because I was looking at the Splash Sports Survivor pool. I was just looking at it. Let me get the full details of that. So there's a couple of people that's injured for Chicago. Okay, so he's not. So it's not Olave. So it's Isaac Yildirim. He's questionable with a leg hamstring. Then you got Alvin Kamara. He's questionable with a leg ankle, and then Alontae Taylor, the quarterback, corner, Corner, he is questionable with a leg injury. So right now it is 4.5 Chicago. Right now it's 4.5. But we don't use spreads. We use win probability for our grid sheets. Now for the other games, the Broncos are favored by a touchdown. So points per game is 21 points, while the Giants average 20.2. So there are only two Broncos players that's been questionable. There's Jonathan Cooper and Jonathan Ellis. And then for the Giants is Darius Slayton. He's questionable with a leg hamstring. Then you got Chauncey Golston, questionable with a head and neck. So the Giants have a lot of people injured. All right, but let's continue. So I did say about Chicago. So tonight, Pittsburgh is going to face the Cincinnati Bengals. That is a road game. As right now, as I'm looking at it, the Bengals are a underdog of plus 5.5. So for the Steelers, Miles Killebrew, he's out with a leg. Shawn Elliott, he's questionable for personal issues, and Calvin Austin is out with a shoulder injury. So you can use. So if you don't want to use them, if you don't want to use them, if you want to use the Pittsburgh Steelers, because I'm one of those people that don't like. I don't like picking Thursday night football games because Thursday night football games are like bad luck. That's what I think of Thursday night football. So if you don't want to use Pittsburgh tonight, you can use them in week 11 versus the Bengals, a home game for Pittsburgh, and then week 15 versus the Dolphins. So both of them are home games. And then you also got the Denver Broncos sitting at against the Giants, as the Broncos is favored because they're coming back home from playing international football. And then the Giants are coming from a rest from last week against the Philadelphia Eagles on Thursday night football. So it's kind of iffy in week 7. But we don't know if it's going to be some upsets or not. So as I was looking at my couple of survival pools I'm in, let me see, I'm in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm in 5 survival pools. So one survival pool is 233 people left. Other one is 104. Third one is 22 because when it started, it was 141. The other one is 544. When it started, it was like 3,115. Because the bigger the pool, you gotta like think critically. And then the other one is 5 people left. So when it started, it was 29 people. It was 29 people. So there you so and I'm also looking at a couple of games. By the way, the Bears have a 71% chance of beating the New Orleans Saints because that is a home game. Detroit is a 73% chance of beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but the Lions got some issues on the secondary because their secondary is banged up. I might want to be very cautious about that if I'm picking the Detroit Lions. Then you got Green Bay going on the road to face the Arizona Cardinals as the Packers have a 71-40% chance of beating the Cardinals. Then you got Seattle playing Monday night against the Houston Texans, 63.50%. But I think Seattle can handle Houston because one thing about Houston is when they're on the road, they're inconsistent. That's my issue is with the Houston Texans. Like at home, no problem, but on the road, they're inconsistent. Then, even though the 49ers have a 55% chance, I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to say, you know what? The 49ers should handle the Atlanta Falcons. Now, if this was on the road, I'd be like, no, I don't take it. And then also another risk I'm taking is the Rams over the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's a road game, so I'm not picking that game, but I got it on my grid sheet. Let's head over to the AFC. AFC. All right. So right now, the teams that have a bye week is Baltimore and Buffalo. They both have bye weeks. So there are four teams you can use in the AFC if you're not using them so far in week 7. That is Pittsburgh, 66%. New England on the road to face the Tennessee Titans. They have a 74% chance. Denver, 76.7% chance of beating the New York Giants. And then the Kansas City Chiefs is playing the Las Vegas Raiders at Arrowhead, 87.80%. So that's your Week 7 NFL Survivor Pool. Now let us get into college football. College football. So I want to start off with last week. Oh my goodness. Because last week, this was not good. So let me see. I did say Penn State was going. Oh, sorry about that. It was a. I forgot to put my phone in do not disturb. But we actually said Penn State was going to beat Northwestern. Penn State lost by 1. And after that, James Franklin is history. So he got fired. Penn State, they lost by 1. Also, we thought Oregon was going to beat Indiana. Indiana beat Oregon as the Ducks had a 74.40% chance of beating the Hoosiers. Then Minnesota beat Purdue. We also gave Michigan State beat UCLA. UCLA clobbered Michigan State as Michigan State had a 75% chance. And of course, that did not happen. Another one I'm looking at in the Big 12, we did say Iowa State and Colorado. That was a toss up. So we did say that was a trap game. Texas Tech is still undefeated. They beat Kansas. They had an 86.60%. Looking at Florida State, trying to see. Yes, Florida State had a 79.6, almost an 80% chance of beating Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh won that game. Man, that was a lot of upsets. As I'm looking into my TikTok, let me go to my. And by the way, we do have a website. It's 586sports.com. By the way, it's number 586. I'm trying to look at my TikTok. I have so many. I have so much apps. It's not even funny. So let's see. This is. Yeah, this is. Then we did say Michigan and USC. That was a trap game because that could have gone one way or the other. All right. It's loading up. All right. It's loading up. All right. There we go. Oh, another one that lost. Texas beat Oklahoma. Texas beat Oklahoma. As a matter of fact, let me see. I'm trying to see what did we give Oklahoma? Oh, because I'm thinking the old way because I forgot they're in the SEC. So I'm trying to see what we did give Texas. Because Texas got clobbered. I'm trying to see because Texas lost 23-6. I'm trying to figure out what happened. So Texas beat Oklahoma 23-6. USC defeated Michigan, 15-ranked Michigan, 31-13, and then Pitt won by 3 against Florida State. So I'm trying to see what did we do with that. So I'm thinking like, what did we give? Okay, yeah. This is week 8. All right, but anywho, we'll focus on the another another thing. Well, so now we're focused on the NCAA. So it shouldn't say. Oh my goodness! It shouldn't even say. It should have said week 8. So there are some potential upsets in week 8 of the NCAA. So let us start off with my conference. My conference is Big Ten. So if you are subscribed to my survival pool grid sheets, as we're looking, so for example, let's look at Nebraska and Minnesota. So Nebraska have a 72% chance of being the Golden Gophers. Now Minnesota were outgained 456 to 262. They forced 4 turnovers, including the game-winning pick 6 from Coy Perch, and escaped with that 27-20 victory. So when you play rather poorly, that could be a catalyst, and that could happen on Friday night. So Minnesota plays its best game and beats Nebraska in a close contest. So don't be surprised if that happens. Then you also looking at Washington as the underdogs as 5.5. Now they have a quarterback named Dedmon Williams as they defeated Rutgers last Friday night because he had 402 yards passing and 136 yards rushing with 4 total touchdowns. So that's like a total of 538 if you do the math. Now we do know Rutgers had a bad defense, okay? And Michigan got pushed around by USC and their struggles with former Pac-12 teams. And Washington continues to improve the 6-1. And then also you got USC playing Notre Dame. Now, Notre Dame has lost the first 2 games of the season as they fell 0-2, and most of us knew about that. Now, they will like to improve and take advantage of a weak schedule to start racking up wins and quickly vault up the rankings and back into the college football playoff contention. Now, the issue with Notre Dame is they have a lack of quality win, which I agree with. So if they defeated USC, this would be like a win for them. So if oh my goodness, if this okay, so if it froze up, please excuse me for that. All right. So USC does have playoff dreams of its own, and they're fresh off one of the best performances of the Lincoln Riley era. As I said before, they defeated Michigan. So you want to be paying attention to that to be on alert if you're picking a team in the Big Ten. Now another one. Let's look at the ACC. ACC. All right. So the ACC. So there's the potential games that you need to pay attention to be on alert. So, for example, let's look at Pittsburgh and Syracuse. Syracuse is a 10.5 underdog. Now, Pittsburgh has a quarterback. He's a freshman named Mason Heinzel. He completed 73% of his passes with 680 yards on the season and 2 wins under his belt, including an upset victory at Florida State last Saturday. Now, Syracuse, they're going to start up a backup quarterback, struggling at just 1-2 in the ACC. So Fran Brown has a knack for being a dangerous underdog, and Pittsburgh has never been known for consistency, which is true. We never knew about Pittsburgh Panthers being consistent. Another one you can look paying attention to is Florida State at Stanford, as Stanford is a 18.5, which is a long shot. Okay. Now they did surrender 102 points in conference games so far. Now Florida State have lost 8 straight ACC games and 1-10 against ACC foes since suing the league back last year. Yikes. Then you also got SMU as a 9.5 underdog against Clemson. Now, last time they played was back in the 2024 ACC championship game, SMU are 2-0 in the ACC, and they got a chance to return to Charlotte this season. They're just 4-2 overall and don't have the look of a conference title contender. Now, Clemson, 3-3, with conference loss to Georgia Tech and Syracuse, and plus the opening defeat to LSU. Now, they have won 2 in a row over North Carolina and Boston College. Now, does this win, those victories over those two, prove anything? I would say no, because they have struggled against any opponent with a pulse. So you want to pay attention to that in the ACC. Then we're going to look at the SEC. So let's look at the SEC, the cream of the crop. Now, let me give an example. Let's look at Ole Miss in Georgia. Now, Ole Miss have a 25.30% of beating Georgia. Now, 2 years ago, Georgia beat Ole Miss 52-17 back in 2023. Then last year, Ole Miss defeated Georgia 28-10. That happened in Oxford. Okay. Now, Georgia has been struggling to pressure opposing quarterbacks. Now, this could be an advantage for Ole Miss with their high power offense and Lane Kiffin pulling the strings. Now, Georgia cannot afford another loss, and Ole Miss is entering a brutal stretch of their schedule, and losses could mount quickly. So after Georgia, Ole Miss got to play Oklahoma in week 9. That's a road game. Week 10, home game South Carolina. Sedale, week 11. Week 12, Florida. That's their last home game. And then last week, they got to go to at Mississippi State. Then you got Mississippi State at Florida. Now, Billy Napier's job is on the line. Now, they do have plenty of talent on the roster, and there's people that like Billy Napier. Okay. Now, it's a bottom line business, and it's not good enough in Gainesville. So, with this game being said, this could be the last hurrah for Billy Napier, as Mississippi State are 0-2 in the SEC, but 4-2 overall, and looking to secure a league win in their next game. And this is another one. It is Tennessee at Alabama. Tennessee has a 25.30% chance of beating Alabama, as Alabama has a 74.70% chance of beating Tennessee. Now, Kalen DeBoer, he was under pressure, and Alabama's 5-0, beating Wisconsin, at Georgia, Vanderbilt, and at Missouri. Now, Ty Simpson has emerged as one of the best quarterbacks in the country, as the Crimson Tide look like one of the best teams in the country. So this is a rivalry game for those that watch college football. Now, they could be worn down by playing a fourth straight match against a top 16 opponent. The Volunteers do have a passing attack that could challenge the Crimson Tide secondary and make this game very interesting. So that game I would stay away from. And there's not too many in the Big 12. Okay. I mean, the only ones I could see that win is like Texas Tech, University of Central Florida, because they're playing a home game against West Virginia. Cincinnati's playing Oklahoma State, where we already know how bad Oklahoma State is. They're trash. So it's not too many of them. And it's not too many in the Mountain West. And last but not least, I do have your 5 Week 7 Splash Sports NFL touchdown player streak survivor you could pick in Week 7. So I do have that list with me. There we go. I got it with me. All right. So here's how it goes. So if you're going to pick a quarterback in the touchdown streak survivor, now if you pick a quarterback, the quarterback has to have a rushing touchdown. The passing touchdown will not work. Now, if you pick a wide receiver or a running back, They can do it by rushing, receiving, punt, or a kickoff return. All right. So here we go. So I got five. There we go. I got 5 players you can use for your touchdown streak survivor picks. Okay, on Splash Sports. So once again, the code is UUM2IX, and you can get your free $10 when you enter a contest that is $10 or more. So let's start with the first one. So if you were going to pick somebody from Pittsburgh, you can pick DK Metcalf as he has scored in 4 consecutive games. That sounds reasonable. Then you you can also look at Kyrie Williams of the Los Angeles Rams as they're going to face the Jacksonville Jaguars. He has crossed the goal line in 4 of his 6 starts this season, also mixing 2 rushing scores with 3 receiving touchdowns. Also, you can look at Tez Johnson of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because he delivered a 45-yard touchdown. As I did say earlier, the Lions secondary is dealing with multiple injuries. The Lions have already allowed 13 receiving touchdowns this season. That is one of the worst marks in the league. Fourth, Quinshon Judkins of the Cleveland Browns. He's averaging an efficient 4.8 yards per touch. With rookie Dylan Gabriel under center, the Browns are leaning heavy on the ground game, especially since the passing attack has struggled to move the chains. They're going to be He's going to be facing a Dolphins defense that has allowed 5.6 yards per carry. That is 3rd worst in the league and has already surrendered over 1,000 rushing yards this season. They've also given up 6 rushing scores, putting them among the most generous units in the red zone. And last but not least, Jamar Chase. He has scored 3 times in the past 2 weeks while receiving 22 targets, including 3 red zone looks, as the Steelers have only allowed 3 receiving touchdowns all season, and they have been suspect through the air against go-to White House. And Chase has also found pay dirt 5 times across 6 career games against Pittsburgh. That's a very interesting stat. So there you have it. That is my survival pool show for NFL and NCAA and the NFL Touchdown Survivor. So these will also be in short clips, as you saw what I did with the NHL Point Streak Survivor. And also, head to 586sports.com, as I do have a newsletter where you can enter our contest. You have till week 8 to enter. And I also have for like the NFL Touchdown Survivor and the NHL Point Streak Survivor as well. And don't forget, if you're not able to watch this on video, you can listen to this on the go. Safe for Trash Survivor Pool Show. That is on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. The link is in the description box below. So take care. You guys have a nice and wonderful evening as I am watching the National League Championship Series between the Milwaukee Brewers and the Los Angeles Dodgers. So take care.